Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Daniel here. So really quick, I got sent this deal a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna be showing you here's exactly how you can underwrite a multifamily deal in like literally 5 minutes. People love to overcomplicate this. I love to overcomplicate. I like to make in-depth, nuanced models. But this is what I use for my initial sniff test. When I get to the deal and I'm quickly running the numbers, this is pretty much the exact framework that I follow. And what I like to call this is a backup napkin yield on cost model. And so what that means is I want to look at what is my stabilized yield on cost, what is my market cap rate, and I usually want to aim for anywhere from like 150 to a 250 basis point spread. Really depends on the market that you're in. If you're in like a class A market, maybe you can go closer to 100 basis points, but for me, who's like in the class B to C route, and I like to do heavy value add and I like to underwrite conservatively, I usually want to be at like a 200 to 250 basis point spread. So I'll run you through this, and hey, if you make it all the way through this video, just drop a comment below. I can shoot this over to you as well. So let's run through it, and as you can see, it is a super easy model. And what the light blue cells mean is that is the inputs, and the rest is computations. So we have our address. I went and blanked it out, but it is a 38 unit property. They are asking for 3 million. That puts us at about 78 grand a unit. And then the renovations for this is about 20, 21 grand a unit. It's more like 17, but again, I underwrite conservatively. So I said about 21K a unit in rehab. With closing costs, we're expecting 1%, debt cost, maybe another 1%. So that is our total cost basis on this project. We've got our purchase price, our renovation, our closing costs, our debt costs. Now we know, hey, we got to bring just under 3.9 million to the table here. And for context, as you see, this is the market cap rates in this area is like a 6 cap, maybe more like 6.3, I would say, if I want to be even more conservative. So that's a typical cap rate that we're kind of seeing here. And yeah, let's dive into this. So really quick, this capital stack, this is my capital stack when stabilized, because what I'm mainly looking at right now is I want to see what are my stabilized returns versus what are my costs and what do I need to do to ultimately then achieve those stabilized yield. So let's say when I go and refi this thing, I'm at a 70% LTV. So debt is 70%, equity is 30. And the rates that I'm seeing right now, I'd probably get like 6.25% interest, amortization probably 25. So now let's dive into what is our current numbers. So as we see over here, it's 38 units, and currently there's only 27 units that are occupied. So as we see, the current occupancy on this this building is 71%, and the current rents are $800 a unit. These are all 2 bedroom, 1 bath, but again, if I had a different unit mix, I would go and lay it out over here. And the stabilized rent for this 2 bed, 1 bath is about $1,200 in this market. So super easy. I just went and looked at the rental comps, and I went to see what is our current state versus the future state. So really quick, just looking at the back of napkin model, this deal is for this property. I think they're currently like 120 grand in NOI. So it doesn't really matter for the in-place income. I more care about what is like my stabilized income. So really quick, let's just kind of run through this back of napkin model here. So GPR is our gross potential rent. This means if I achieve market rent at 100% occupancy, that is the rental figure I see. And then I've got obviously my vacancy allowance, which in this market is about 5.5%. And then we have our loss to lease. And what loss to lease means, for those of you who do not know, is hey, I think I'm going to get $1,200 a unit, but I want to underwrite conservatively. Though market rent is $1,200, I might get, let's say, $1,100. So call that a 8% deviation from the market rent. So let's assume an 8% loss to lease. Again, I like to underwrite conservatively. And again, for the sake of this model, just for speed purposes, let's just get to this 120K NOI. 24. That was an extra zero. I think it's more like, I think it's like 120K NOI. So you would look at this thing and you would say, geez, this going in cap rate is terrible. What, it's 120K NOI and I need to bring 3.8 million. I'm going to get a negative cash on cash. Terrible deal, right? So most people would see this and they would say, wow, this is garbage. But now let's look at our stabilized income. So I just realized that I got to do So yeah, fine. Actually, never mind. 40K taxes is fine. So let's dive into the expense breakdown. So on average, insurance is 500 to 900 a unit. Let's say right in the middle of 700. Utilities, again, we have these ranges that we typically follow. Again, this is within the sub-market that I am operating in. For you, it'd be different. So for the sake of this, let's just go and do the average. Electricity is 275 a unit. Water is 250. Natural gas. Water is, let's say, 350. Management in this market is I usually get like 6%. R&M, I'm only doing 20 grand in rehab, not the heaviest maintenance job, so let's assume 6% for repairs and maintenance. Contract services, let's say 500 bucks, legal 200, landscaping 50, marketing and admin 25. So now we'll go and see what is our stabilized return. So if we look over here, we're saying, hey, we're going to do 547 grand in income. After our vacancy, after our loss to lease, we're expecting an EGI, aka effective gross income, of about 473 grand. Now let's go and look at our expenses. So really quick, a note on expense ratios. Usually I want to be anywhere from a 35 to 45% expense ratio. Again, I like to minimize my risk here. I want to underwrite for heavier expenses. Just because, again, I want to underwrite for downside. Am I happy with that? If I am, I'll proceed. So we see after taxes, insurance, other, utilities, management, R&M, I'm left with 186 grand in NOI. In expenses, netting me 286 in NOI. So my expense ratio is 39%. So after my debt service, aka paying the bank for the loan that they're giving me here, I'm expecting a DSCR ratio of 1.33, and my cash flow is 70 grand. So let's look at that cash flow. So I'm getting a 6% cash on cash return, not great when stabilized, and my stabilized yield on cost is a 7.39, but market cap rate is 6.3. So for me, this probably doesn't make too much sense. And really quick, here is what this stabilized yield on cost means. So let's say market cap rate is 6.3, and my stabilized NOI is 286. My value at stabilized is the 286 over 6.3. That gets me to a value of 4.5 million. My cost basis on the project is about 3.9 million. So for me though, after holding costs, after the capital I need to raise, I have to start off with probably a short-term debt vehicle, and then I've got to go and convert into long-term debt. So usually, that's what that spread is. That is where you make the money here. So for example, if market cap rates were 5%, as you see, that difference between stable minus cost, as we see, hey, if it was 5 cap market, amazing. I'd make 1.8 million buying this deal. Of course I would do it. I only need to bring $1 million, and in excess of that, I'm going to make 1.8 million. Of course I would do that. So that is how you quickly underwrite these things, is you want to see what is the market cap rate and what is that stabilized yield on cost. That delta is the spread that we make as value add investors here. And again, this is more so for value add. So for me, I would want to probably target, let's say, a 1.5% spread, aka 150 basis points. So for me, that means I need to go and offer less. So let's say our current offer is 3 million. Let's go and see how can I get that to my basis that I'm looking for, right? What would I offer here? So let's look at this. If it was 2.8 million, did the numbers work? What a good guess, spot on. So for me, I would come back, I would say, hey, I'd probably be closer to 2.8 million. And thus, as we see, I'm going to make about a $2 million spread on this deal. So not too shabby, right? But yeah, really quick, just to kind of recap this, super easy model. This should literally take you 2 to 3 minutes. Eventually, once you get really good at this, if you want to get really quick, you say, here's our monthly rent, annualize it times 0.55 or 0.5. Okay, there's my stabilized NOI. Right away, in literally 1 second, just take your stabilized rent and assume either a 50% expense ratio, 45 or 40, and that'll give you a quick back of napkin stabilized NOI. You then want to obviously go and compare that to your cost basis, see your yield on cost, and see, am I getting a good enough delta that I'm happy with? And if you're curious how we actually found this deal, this was from cold calling. What we do is we'll go in and let's say, for example, this was in the Midwest. We'll go and pull every single owner that is in the range of 20 to 100 units. And then for us, we just do outbound marketing at scale. We're calling these guys, we're texting, we're emailing, we're voicemailing, and we're getting opportunities like this. As we saw, the seller was asking for 3 million. We're not too far off here in the grand scheme of things. We're maybe 7-8% off. So again, thank you for watching this. If you want this model, just comment YOC below if you watched it all the way through, and you'll know that what that means, I hope. But yeah, just comment YOC. I'll shoot this thing over to you. Super easy model. This should allow you to underwrite deals in like literally seconds.